Hi everyone, Velvet here, and I have a couple stories for you today. But before we get started, can you do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe? It'll really help the channel out. Let's get to it. Our first one comes from OnlyFox774. Am I the beehole for not paying the full amount for a family-style dinner where I only ate bread? My wife and I are both vegan, but we don't make a big deal out of it. We don't judge others for their choices, and we don't expect them to accommodate us. We usually just find something we can eat wherever we go, or eat beforehand if we know the options are limited. One of my friends invited us to his birthday dinner at a restaurant in Brooklyn. He said it was a last minute thing and he didn't have time to make reservations. So we just had to show up and hope for the best. We checked the menu online and saw that there was not many vegan options, except for chips and guacamole, hummus, and bread. We decided to eat a snack at home and then order drinks and appetizers at the restaurant. We also have been tight with money lately because some of the medical expenses. So, we didn't want to spend too much on food we couldn't eat anyway. When we got to the restaurant, we found out they were doing it all family style and splitting the bill evenly among everyone. There were about 15 people in our group, and they ordered a lot of food, most of which was meat or cheese based. The only thing we could eat was the bread, so we just had a couple slices each and 2 beers each. At the end of the night, my friend sent me a Venmo request for $120 for our share of the dinner. I was shocked by the amount since our 4 drinks were only $32 plus tip, so about 40 bucks. I texted him back and explained that we didn't know it was going to be family style, and that we only had the beers and some bread. I said I would send him $60 to cover our drinks and a bit extra for the bread. He got angry and said that we should have told him we were vegan, and that it was rude not to participate in the family style dinner. He said that everyone else paid their fair share, and that we were being cheap and selfish. He said that he expected us to pay the full amount. The decision to make it family style meal was done last second too, because the restaurant had no idea a party of 15 was showing up. Otherwise, we could have split the bill per party and have been fine. I don't think we did anything wrong. We didn't ask for any special treatment, and we didn't complain about the food. We just ate what we could and tried to have a good time. We also didn't want to make a scene or cause any drama by announcing our dietary preferences. We thought $60 was more than enough for what we consumed, and we didn't want to pay for food we couldn't eat. Am I the beehole? Hi, Hopi. I'm gonna go with you're not the beehole on this one. I hate that way of splitting things, personally, because I always go for a cheaper meal on the menu. So yeah, I'm not paying for other people's meals while they get to stuff themselves full of expensive things and drinks. Also, how much of a friend is your friend? Because how does he not know you're vegan if he invited you to like a 15-man dinner? Personally, if this ends up, killing the friendship, just let it die. It doesn't sound like he's a great friend anyway. And let's be honest, no one should pay $120 for some bread. That is insane. Our next story comes from Embarrassed Shop 9787. Am I the beehole for telling off my father-in-law after he asked about my weight post giving birth? Okay, so I'm a week postpartum and quite tired in recovery. My father-in-law is a retired doctor, a GP to be precise. He is generally a kind man, and we haven't had issues the 10 years I've been with my husband. When I was in the 3rd trimester, I noticed he made a lot of unwarranted and unsolicited comments with regards to my condition. For instance, I had gestational diabetes. He seemed to disagree with the advice my highly regarded endocrinologist, I'm going to just go with that, I'm sorry. Then he asked me when I was getting induced into labor, and I said it should be induced at 38 weeks because of my GD, age, and that my placenta could degrade and result in a stillbirth. I found that incredibly insensitive, and I told my husband that if he says one more thing about my body and our birth choices, which are entirely conventional, by the way, I ended up going into spontaneous labor right on 40 weeks and had a smooth delivery. I would have a word with him. Today, he came to visit the baby. He asked me if I started exercising yet. Both my husband and I were surprised and said no. My husband added that I needed bed rest. On the advice of both my OB and physio, my physio advised half an hour on my feet per day, building it up gently and going for small walks with intense exercise. From 6 weeks, father-in-law said he disagreed. Okay. Then he asked me if I had been weighed yet. That threw us both for a loop. We didn't know why that would matter. Not that it should matter, but I'm a petite woman and have always been skinny. I look appropriate for 1 week postpartum. Then he said I should be careful about diabetes down the line. My husband asked him what that had to do with my weight, and he said, well, you should look into getting back into shape. I saw red. I told him to keep his nose out of my body, and I already had a team of doctors looking after me, and he wasn't one of them. He said, I'm coming from the point of a concerned father-in-law. I replied that that's even more inappropriate, and that any more unsolicited comments, I would consider not allowing him into my house. He looked taken aback, but apologized, mumbling about concern, and then he left. He has a history of depression and looked very sad when he departed, which made me doubt myself. Am I the beehole? IOP. No, I'm gonna say you're not the beehole on this one. I also don't think your father is the beehole. What he was doing was kind of beehole-y. Oh, before I get more into it, congratulations on having your child. But even if he meant well, which I do believe he did, because you said, you haven't had any problems with him and that he's a nice guy, those questions were very invasive and inappropriate. He shouldn't have done that. Like you said, he's not your doctor. And come on, it's been a week? He expects you to, immediately bounce back from, bringing life into the world in a week? That's insane. But like I said, I don't think he's a bad guy, and I think this one could be solved if you just sit down and have a conversation with him, and I think things will be fine. Our next story comes from Infinite Plastic 5400. Am I the beehole for telling my brother that the reason me and my wife don't spend time with their kids is that his wife is terrible? Okay, so me and my wife spend a decent chunk of time with my sister's kids since we don't have any kids. And my sister sometimes needs a break from them. So, the other night, my brother invited me to his home so that we could chat about something. So, he asked me why we never spend time with his family. And I told him pretty bluntly, it's 'cause we just don't like being around his wife. So, we just don't spend as much time with his family. Some context on why me and my wife hate his wife, and she's absolutely the worst. She constantly makes uncomfortable jokes to my wife, who's from Thailand, and is usually general stuff like, you're just with him for a green card, or how much did he buy you for? Which makes her incredibly uncomfortable. She is also incredibly judgmental about our choice not to have any kids, so we can save money to spend on ourselves. When we brought this up with my brother, he told me that we were just being sensitive, and that's just her sense of humor. So, I told him until he found a way to get her to be amicable with us, we weren't going to see him outside of family gathering. You and your wife are not the beehole on this one, OP. You set boundaries and you told him exactly why you didn't want to be there, and now he's trying to blow it off. Oh, she's just funnin'. No, she's not being funny. She's being, racist. And you're under no obligation to spend time with people you don't want to. Go where you're wanted, not where you're tolerated. If there's no contact, then just keep it no contact. Sounds like you guys already have this problem figured out. Just keep doing what you're doing. Our next one comes from Throwaway7154. Am I the beehole for what I wore in front of my boyfriend's friend? 2 days ago, my 21-year-old female boyfriend, 23-year-old male, had his friends over. I knew they were coming since he told me the night before. It was really warm, surprisingly, and all I was wearing was a sports bra, sort of low cut, and tight shorts. I sat on the couch next to my boyfriend for a little while, whilst they played some games on the TV, and then I went to get some lunch. By the time I was finished eating, they had left and my boyfriend completely blew up at me. He said I was dressed like that for attention, and I made all of his friends stare at me. I knew what I was doing, and that I should have covered up as soon as I saw them. He stormed out, and since he came home, he's barely spoken to me. Am I the beehole? Should I have worn something less revealing? Yes, you were the beehole on this one. Your boyfriend, a little bit of a beehole. He told you the day before his friends were coming. Let's be honest. Let's be really honest. What if you had your friends over and they were wearing cute little skimpy outfits, and your boyfriend was giving them all the attention? You wouldn't like that. That would piss you off, and you know it. Stop lying. You knew what you were doing. Like, maybe I get it if you were legit going to work out, but come on, even then, you couldn't throw a shirt on top of that. But come on, you gotta cover it when guests are over. Even when I was a young kid, I know you don't run out in the living room with your underwear on when people are here. Come on, you know what you were doing. Alright, everybody, thank you so much for making it to the end with me. Please do what I said in the beginning. Like, comment, and subscribe. Velvet out.